Lebanon's largest Palestinian refugee camp has been rocked by violence since the 7th of September. The fighting between the Secular Fatah movement and the hardline Islamist groups intensified on Wednesday as a ceasefire was violated. At least about 7 people were killed on Wednesday, taking the total death toll to over 16 since the fighting resumed on the 7th of September. Hundreds of families have been displaced from the camp, seeking refuge in nearby mosques, schools and also the Sidon municipality building. The refugee camp al-Hilweh was rocked by 5 days of deadly fighting just weeks ago, in which 13 more people had died. So the question is this: what has led to these violent clashes between the rival factions in the largest Palestinian refugee camp in southern Lebanon? Our next report gets you more details.
al-Hilweh, the largest Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon, is on the edge. Smoke billowed and gunshots rang out in the narrow alleys of the crowded camp on Wednesday evening. At least 7 people were killed and 16 wounded as clashes intensified between members of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah movement and Islamist militants. al-Hilweh, on the outskirts of the southern city of Sidon, has been rocked by violence since the 7th of September. It is home to more than 63,000 registered refugees, though some estimates peg the number even higher. Hundreds of Palestinian families have now fled the camp, seeking refuge in nearby mosques, schools and the Sidon municipality building. Noteworthy is the work being done by Palestinian Red Crescent paramedics, who have set up stations at the camp's entrance to treat the wounded and provide food packages to displaced families.
We have several groups at the entrances of the camp, and there is also a team right here. We are here for the displaced, so if there are displaced who come who are wounded and whatnot, we work with them. We treat the wounded and take them to hospitals.
Barely weeks ago, al-Hilweh had been rocked by 5 days of street battles between the rival factions. After the Fatah accused Islamist groups Jund al-Sham and Shabab al-Muslim of gunning down one of their military generals, Mohammed al-Armoushi, on the 30th of July. The uneasy truce in place since the 3rd of August was increasingly in danger of being broken, since the Islamist groups have not handed over the accused killers of al-Armoushi to the Lebanese judiciary, a key demand by a committee of Palestinian factions. On the 5th of September, the committee had announced that their joint security forces would launch raids in search of the accused killers. Islamist groups, in an attempt to forestall plans by the Palestinian forces, had launched an attack on the 7th of September. As clashes intensified, scores of civilians were forced to flee to safer areas.
As soon as the bombing started, we left immediately. We fled in panic. Even accidents happened on the road. People fell on the streets. Most people left. We couldn't believe how we ran out with our children. I have 4 children and 6 of my nephews. Only God knows how we have escaped.
Close to 100 sustained injuries in this desperate scrabble for survival. Among the wounded is 16-year-old Sabine Al-Ahmad, who had fled the camp with her family.
We were running away and a shell exploded over us. The shrapnel burst and I got wounded.
Close to 400,000 Palestinian refugees live in Lebanon's 12 refugee camps, dating back to the 1948 war between Israel and its Arab neighbors. These camps, including the al-Hilweh, largely lie outside the jurisdiction of the Lebanese security forces. Factional disputes spiraling into deadly violence are a common occurrence in the al-Hilweh camp. If this latest cycle of violence doesn't end soon, chances are many more will meet the same fate as 16-year-old Sabine, or maybe even worse.